So at this point in the year, there's not a whole lot of stuff going on. So I want to kind of take this time to maybe discuss just general things within the theme park news circuit in kind of a something new, just kind of like a weekly news update sort of thing. So let's talk about some theme parks. We'll start first with the park furthest to the north, and that would be up in Santa Clarita, California. Six Flags Magic Mountain, something that I just discovered that I had no idea was even a thing. The park is closed Tuesday through Thursday, all the way until March 7th. I did not know that this is kind of how they are able to keep the park open year-round, by just closing it half the week until the busy season picks up again. Then after March 7th, that's when spring break happens, and that's when us Fright fans start getting Scream Break. It was told to me that January 15th, which I guess is the day that we were there, they began demolition on the Golden Bear Theater. So if you happen to go sometime this week, odds are you may not see that structure there anymore. The demolition process is obviously usually the quickest, and to some, it's the most fun, because then when everything is kind of cleared out, you get a real good vantage point of how much space you have to actually work with. That area actually has quite a bit of room to do quite a few things. The big talking point right now is people really want some sort of a bigger finale for Full Throttle, some sort of addition to that ride, because I feel like there's a lot of speed that gets wasted coming up over the drop of that final loop, and they would really like something big to kind of finish off the ride. Having never ridden Full Throttle, I wouldn't know, but that doesn't sound like a bad idea. One thing that I don't think Six Flags Magic Mountain really needs is another thrill coaster. I'm not a thrill coaster guy, but they've already got, 21 of them at this point, so adding another one to that, like a drop coaster, a hyper, a giga, something like that, is really just kind of adding more wood to an already burning fire, and I feel like that's not going to have the impact that some people would want. That space is right next to Bugs Bunny Land. That hill is right across from the little midway section there, and me being the dork that I am, I'm always up for putting in a new show building and having some sort of dark ride in that area, and then maybe having Full Throttle kind of go up and over that. That's just me. That's asking a lot, I know, but that would have been my idea. It's just something new, something that Six Flags Magic Mountain really doesn't do a whole lot of, but it would be cool. I don't know. Samurai Summit is still closed. I scoured everywhere to try to find out any kind of news at all on what's going to be happening up there with Superman or Ninja, and I have no idea. My assumption is they have Ninja shut down so that they can cut back some of the tree sections, because I guess if those trees get too long, then Ninja kind of crashes into them, like some of the branches and things, and then you risk crowds getting hurt, whatnot. Just looking over that fence, it looks like they're doing more than that. They're actually digging into the ground for something, and I don't know what. I haven't heard anything about what it could possibly be, but I'm gonna obviously just try to stay in tune with the news on what's going on up there, in hopes that we'll get something by March 7th when they go into spring break mode, and then right after that they'll go into summer mode, so that's kind of the park's busy season. Hopefully everything gets figured out at that point. If you haven't heard by now, there have been just little whispers that the Sky Tower could get reopened. This would be another massive project for Magic Mountain, because they basically have to get a brand new multi-million-dollar elevator system to comply with California's safety codes. The whole reason it was shut down before was because of safety issues with the elevator itself, and having it sit dormant there. It's really cool because it's something that you see from the freeway, and it's a really cool landmark. It's very recognizable, but I think having it working, especially with the amount of stuff they have up there, it's a whole museum in there. Obviously, they'd have to clean it up after what happened back in 2020 with the kids that broke in and basically made a mess of the whole place. But that's the least of their worries, I think, is just getting paint off the ground and fire extinguisher foam off the walls. I think having the Sky Tower operating once again would be so awesome for that park. because the view up there, I could imagine, I've never been on it myself, but the view up there would have to be fantastic to be able to see basically all of Santa Clarita Valley, to see all of the mountain, and to be able to see kind of over the backside too would be really cool, because that thing gets really tall. It goes way up in the air. It's like 300 feet or something like that. And that's something that the park could definitely use as well. That's really all that's happening at Six Flags right now. Six Flags is kind of one of those parks to where if they're not working to build a new roller coaster, they're not really in any sort of headlines. So we'll move on further south to Knott's Berry Farm. As we all know at this point, Knott's Berry Farm is getting ready for their peanut celebration on, January 28th, I believe, or January 26th? January 26th, right? Which at that point, they will go back to their normal operating hours on weekdays, which is opening at 10 and still closing at 6, but opening in that extra hour early. Because right now, for the next couple weeks, they will be opening at 11 and closing at 6, Monday through Thursday, which is fine. They've got a bunch of stuff lined up. You know, it's all the same stuff that they had for Peanut Celebration in the last couple of years, where they have It's Your Life, Charlie Brown, and Snoopy's Rooftop Show on the Calico Mine stage. They've got the Peanut Sketch School in the Birdcage Theater, along with, I believe it's Charlie Brown Trivia in there as well. And this year in Calico Town Hall, they're doing the meet and greet with Franklin rather than Snoopy, which I think it's cool to include different characters in that spot and basically highlight a character that's not necessarily part of the main cast, but is definitely part of the ensemble. So you kind of will get a little bit of Franklin's backstory, the history of how he met Charlie Brown, and that sort of stuff. I think that's cool. They already have Franklin out in Camp Snoopy for meet and greets, so if you happen to go at any point between now and then, chances are you will spot him. Also, because Peanut Celebration is going to be starting pretty soon, Boysen, the Pups, and Whittles are going to go on vacation for a little while. They'll be back for the Boysenberry Festival in March, but until then, we will not be seeing them. Kind of sucks because I do enjoy seeing them around the park. They're, the Knott's originals, but there's going to be so much Peanut stuff everywhere. I think we'll be okay. Also, because the Calico Railroad is going to be down for the next couple months, Knott's did start running the Western street shows in Calico, which I guess are kind of a success. A lot of people are really into it. Myself, haven't had a chance to watch one. The people that have seen them say that they're pretty awesome. So that's good news. Hopefully when the train reopens, they'll continue to do it, because I know that's something that people have kind of been clamoring for since they took them away, was not the stunt show, but at least the street shows with the little shootouts and stuff. Hopefully that's something that they can continue to do even after the railroad is open. Other than that, Knott's and Camp Snoopy and the hotel are really the big projects there. Both projects are working around the clock to meet all the deadlines. The hotel is kind of, I'm not going to say it's in the final stretch, but it's definitely in the back nine. Camp Snoopy has really kind of kicked it into overdrive this week, and probably last week actually, and they really started working on pretty much half of the projects that they needed to get done with the Tender Paw coaster and the theater. They've also taken out the old meet and greet section, but they haven't said what they're going to replace it with yet. My assumption is still going to be Woodstock's Airmail, because they took out the old platform where Woodstock's Airmail was. So I don't know if they're going to extend the theater out that way to where Airmail was, or maybe they use that spot for more storefront, because they also have Camp Snoopy's store closed as well. If you didn't catch in the vlog this week, they did move Camp Snoopy's store over to the Calico Hotel right there in the front of Ghost Town. So everything that you wanted to get from the Camp Snoopy store is in there at this point, until they reopen it here in probably maybe summer or something. And now we'll move up to Hollywood, and we'll do Universal Studios. Obviously, the big news with Universal Studios is that Fast and Furious coaster that's coming out. I kind of had a look through of some articles that were kind of discussing the coaster itself, and there were some cool renderings, some cool drawings of how the layout could be. Some of them looked really cool. I know there was like a night rendering of how it would look at night, which actually would be super rad. And then they've also, some of these renderings have shown how they have these half pipe walls on some of the turns just to prevent noise pollution. Going in some of the neighborhoods and stuff, which is kind of cool, kind of a cool opportunity to really build another dimension of the roller coaster instead of just making it something generic. One specific rendering I saw of the roller coaster had this really cool, it was almost like a speed run that turned down into like a 180-degree drift back around, which it kind of paralleled the tram route and then came back around that way. Something like that, really making this kind of seem like it's almost like it's a street race where you're drifting and having the, I don't really know too much about the ride yet, but having just kind of a regular roller coaster, but having the cars have the ability to kind of drift around turns and stuff, and really give you the illusion that you're in some sort of street race while you're on a roller coaster would be really cool. I would imagine it could be something similar to Velocicoaster in Orlando, but obviously not the same thing. Velocicoaster is in a league of its own. That thing is ridiculous. I don't know how many loops or anything they're planning on having, inversions and stuff they're planning on having on this stuff, and I'm sure that stuff will all probably come out at the end of summer or something. They started digging into the base of it, so they're getting everything on that hillside. They're getting all that stuff taken care of. They started building the wall up over where the show building is going to be, which I'm assuming is where the queue is going to be and where the loading bay is going to be. So they're getting all that stuff taken care of now. And then after that, we'll keep our eye out for the railing and stuff that they're going to be bringing in. That's exciting. Also, speaking of the tram ride, the base motel is basically cut in half at this point. I don't know what they're doing with it. I don't know if they're planning on tearing the whole thing. Obviously, they're not going to tear the whole thing down, but like basically tearing a lot of stuff down and rebuilding it. I don't know if it looks like they have termite damage or what. Or just basically rebuilding it and making it the same thing that it was, just a newer version of it, because wood rots and it's outside and it endures the elements, and it can only do so much before it eventually just kind of falls down. Another thing that I noticed is they have these concrete cylinders piped in all over the ground, just past the base motel. I don't know if you remember, for Horror Nights, that used to be the path for the tram. You would go up and over that hill and around where that area is. That was like one of my favorite parts, because that was my first experience with scare actors in the ghillie suits with the little shaky cans where you couldn't see them. It was like pitch black up there, and they had a couple scenes like Jason Voorhees type scenes with like campers and stuff, and you really felt isolated out there. It was really dark, and it was really quiet because you were kind of away from everything. But anyway, they've got something going on up there that they're building, and other than that, everything is copacetic on the tram ride. I don't know if I haven't ridden it in a little while, so I don't know if they brought the Fast and Furious finale back for it yet. My hopes are that they end up changing that. I was never a huge fan of that. I felt like it was kind of cheeseball-y, and it doesn't really work like King Kong does. I still like King Kong, but I was never a fan of the Fast and Furious finale there. It's, if you have a roller coaster there, let's get rid of it and do something else. That's kind of how I feel about the whole thing. And also with Halloween Horror Nights, there was a weird tweet from John Murdy not that long ago where he came in talking about a secret meeting that he had with Universal Studios. I know people have been wanting to know how they're going to be controlling the crowds going forward, because last year was an absolute nightmare with people everywhere. And word on the street is they don't plan on using, I think it was called the T-Pad, which is the section behind Transformers where they had Holidays in Hell last year. So they're not planning on using that anymore. They started tearing all that stuff down, and I don't think they're going to bring it back up. Now, there is a possibility that they bring back the Metro lot, which would be music to a lot of people's ears. And hopefully, this is true. Obviously, we're not going to find out anything about that until summer, probably Midsummer Scream or thereabouts in time. But that would be big news if true. Also, the little cafe that they're building underneath the New York windows there. The New York windows are undergoing their little transformation. They're just kind of getting a fresh coat of paint, and they're going to rework some of that facade there. And then they've got the little cafe that they have down there in the corner. It used to have a sign on it that said Power Up Cafe, and now it doesn't anymore. So people are wondering, is that even going to be around anymore? The word on the street is it's still going to be the Power Up Cafe, but I don't know when they plan on opening that. Whether or not it's going to be anytime soon. Universal kind of has bigger fish to fry at this point, so they've got to deal with a licensing issue with Springfield in the next few years, so that'll be fun, I'm sure. Anyway, that's the parks at this point in time, and everything that's going on with them. I look forward to the end result. I hope you do too. Let me know what you're most excited for. Which park excites you the most as far as like revamps and improvements and new additions to the park. And let's talk.